People hardly talk about what it takes to actually discover the right path to become a successful entrepreneur.
When I see from my role, when I'm thinking about it, revenue first. But from operations, from business side, from the technical side, the complexity of it was very high. And I am the first entrepreneur in my entire family. So my family didn't even understood what I'm doing.
When you are in the struggling mode, generally you pick up any damn project, which is even going to pay you like peanuts.
Business head or the guy who has to lead the business has to go and build communications and how to build relationship.
Perfecting the hardware takes a lot of effort, lot of time. It's difficult to do a hardware startup.
They already knew that answer is doing robots, and these robots are working in a lot of other fields.
So let me introduce Ribin first. Ribin Mathew is a guy who is into robotic, and he is more into making great products. I really liked the way his products were designed. That's how we had a really good conversation with him. He's an entrepreneur who has made his business successful, especially in a difficult times like COVID. He's just an ordinary guy, never went to Ivy schools or an IIT, and still was able to create a really, really successful company. And from the recent conversation, he has also got a great order recently when he came to Mumbai, which we just spoke about. And we are going to deep dive into his journey of becoming a tech entrepreneur in a country like India. He's from Bangalore, and he's also take us through various aspects of the journey that he of his business of setting up a successful company, and we are going to deep dive into that. So, Ribin, starting off, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Actually, I'm a little bit sleepy after my all travel, but generally it's doing good.
All right, all right. So, Ribin, everyone talks about fancy stuff. Everyone talks about the top-down approach. Everyone talks about strategy, market, go-to-market strategies, creating products, all these things. Uh, People hardly talk about daily struggles. People hardly talk about what it takes to actually discover the right path to become a successful entrepreneur, to build a right startup, right? So, specifically in a field like robotics, wherein people do run away from doing a hardware startup, wherein you have started off a company in hardware space and you have done quite well. So, I want to first of all start off with your background. Please tell us more about what your journey has been.
So to put it a very simple, I was a core robotics engineer. I have a bachelor's in robotics. It's not from very fancy colleges. It's just from a normal college from Kerala. So I am from Kerala, but how to move to Bangalore since work was in Bangalore. Before starting Answer, I was working as a robotics engineer who wanted to pursue the dream of robotics engineering. That's why I ended up in robotics. From college onwards, we always wanted to start a company, but how does a company work? We don't even know, right, when we are in college. And especially how does a startup work? From outside, it might look very simple, right? But we didn't have any clue how it works. What we did is we actually worked in 3 startups before starting Answer. One of them is very famous Adverb Technology, who recently got acquired by Airlines. So that's where the foundation was. I still say that working with these companies give us at least that courage to start our own company. But when we starting it up, it's entirely different thing, right? So once you start it, there is actually 1,000 problems that gonna throw to you. And in 2020, we started the Answer Robotics based out of Bangalore, but it was not a hardware startup. The reason is Answer itself stands for Autonomous Navigation Software for Controlled Environment Robots. So we wanted to build only software. But if you want to build a good software, just like Apple, their phone is very better because their hardware is also so good. We couldn't find any existing hardware ecosystem in India, which could be state of the art, where we can develop our software. So that's where we were forced to get into hardware as well. So this is because theory that we had before starting company was we were working with robotics. We being seeing robots deployed in industries, and the name of them is ABB, Kuka, Fanuc, MIR. All these companies were foreign companies. And I didn't see even one of Indian companies' robots running in these factories or any floors which I visited or worked. That kept us thinking, why, even though we had all the technology, we have the best software developers in the world, even Google is led by India, why there is a huge gap when it comes to products, especially in robotics side, why India is not excelling. So that's what the core reason we wanted to start a company. That's how we started it off. But that's just starting. So we had a reason. But if you look at that reason, it's an engineer reason, right? It's not a customer reason. It's always an engineer talking and engineer figuring out, oh, there is a problem. And does that problem make money? At that point of no, right? So that's how we started. So Answer is formed in 2020, July 10. It's been years into operation.
So, Ribin, you were a robotics, mechatronics specifically bachelor, right?
Right.
Did you do your masters as well?
No, I didn't do masters. So that's the other reason I wanted to change this phenomena of doing bachelors, especially in something that nobody has done in from entire Kerala. We were the first batch out of Kerala to do bachelors in mechatronics.
Wow.
And if I do masters, then I didn't get any experience in the real world, right?
Correct.
I wanted to gain experience and I wanted to do masters definitely. But right now, I don't want to do masters in science or in technology. I want to do MBA. So I am actually trying for IIMB PGDM course, which will help us or mold me in more of business terms. Because tech is just one part of the business. And it's not the full business, right? So you have to be molded into a business-oriented technology guy. Only then you will be able to lead the company into more success.
Correct. So basically, tech is just a tool to enable the business.
Right. And so one of the key thing is you have enough talent in India, whether masters, whether bachelors, you don't have a talent problem at all. Like using them, or the word might be wrong, but utilizing the talent pool available with us is something what makes money, right? How do you create stuff, or how do you make value out of what you already have? For that, you have to understand tech. Definitely, yes, I understand tech, especially robotics. Yes, definitely I understand robotics because I worked in robotics. Now, the part which is exactly missing is how do we turn into an organization? From startup, right? How do I turn this into an organization? How do I become an MNC? Or how do I grow it globally? So that part is not just with tech. It has to be from a business side also. So that most of the founders or most of the early founders which I'm talking, they miss that part, right? So they still go back to the drawing board, coding their own, trying to build the stuff by themselves. It is okay, but up to a point.
So I also wanted to ask you that you have a team of 3 to 4 founders, right?
Right. We have 4 founders.
Yeah. And how did you find the founders? Because what I have seen is having a co-founder is like having a good marriage, and it should last quite a while. And finding right co-founder is also a big deal. So how did you find your co-founders, and what has been your journey? Is there any conflicts that keeps on going? How do you resolve them? And explain me about your relationship and your journey of becoming great co-founders.
Right. So my team, when I formed, was me and Ebin starting. So who was actually being with me for last 10 years now. So when I said 10 years, we studied together during college. We went for all the competitions during colleges. We lost most of them. When you're losing, you will find the uh, real stuff of your person, or the real nature of the person. So we never had a conflict on losing. So we went along very long when we worked together. Then starting, obviously, he was one of the first guy whom I wanted to start with. Then the only difference was we both were technical founders, right? So we are into technical. So now I can't be a lead who will be doing all the technical stuff. And I need one more guy who actually will be my CTO. So Rajwan is our CTO, who has masters, who is a gold medalist in his masters, who worked with me in my last company as well, who was leading the team. So we worked together and we knew each other. And when I wanted to start something, he always used to support me. Definitely, yes, we'll start it. I'll definitely join. So he also joined along with the team. So he takes care of tech. So there was a clear differentiation, right? So now there is one more founder or co-founder who is Regu. So I know my limitations. Where do I excel? Where do I not excel? So I'm not a person who can directly go and talk to everybody if it's a crowded place. I'm not a very socializable guy. Once I start talking one-to-one, I can talk. But business head or the guy who has to lead the business has to go and build communications and how to build relationship. So that's why Regu comes in. Regu and I know for last 6 years who worked in another startup, he had his own startup. So he also understand how a startup works, right? And we worked together in a couple of projects. So we knew for around 4 to 5 years, even before starting. So now how do we actually does not get into conflict? So we actually divide our responsibilities very clean and cut. Even though I'm a robotics engineer, I have enough experience in taking a lot of decision, but the decision making will be collective, but led by Raj, my CTO, right? So there are a lot of things that I want to do in a very shortcut way or very fast. But for Raj, it has to be methodic and it has to be scalable. So what I will do is, there are two ways. We come into a lot of conflict, we come into a lot of discussion, but at the end of the day, he's the one who has to execute it. If I'm not able to convince Raj, telling that, Raj, this is the way it is supposed to be done, right? And if he's not getting convinced, I'll let him decide based on his input as well as from our collective input. So we don't step over each other. The same thing happens in operations. Epin takes care of the entire operation. So designing part is taken care of and he is a good designer. So on his particular thing, we implement something called RACI or ACI. Everybody knows about it. There is a responsible person for certain things and he is supposed to take the responsibility of it. We will be helping them, but we won't be the decision makers. We will definitely try to give all our input expertise. But at the end of the day, the decision has to come from them. The decision may be wrong. Yeah.
Right. So tell me, so what you're saying is that you allocate each other responsibility and ownership to take responsibility of that department or whatever role, and you assist them, you advise them, but final decision is going to be theirs.
Correct.
Does it happen that, three of you guys want to do one thing, but the one guy want to do third thing, and then you are convincing him, and then he's doing the thing, and then what happens then?
Yeah. So this is actually one of the best thing that we are able to solve, right? We fight like anything. So believe me, we have situations where we screamed, we shout in the meeting room for 3 to 4 hours, comes out, have a coffee without any problem of what happens inside, then comes back, right? So I'll let you know one incident where all the other 3 members became one team, I became another one team, right? So in this side, I am the one supposed to. So when I look from an authority point of view, I'm like, I'm the CEO. You guys are supposed to do what I am tell, right? But that's not what's gonna happen. So what is gonna happen if when we get into a conflict where 3 people are on same side and I am on one side, we write down things, We look at the merit of doing it and demerit of not doing it. So there are projects, for example, there is one project which is nobody wants to take. Okay, so the reason is very clear. If we've taken that project, my resource will get drained. It was a little bit out of the scope of what we were doing. But the upside of it is it is actually bringing a lot of revenue. Okay, for a CEO, from my role when I'm thinking about it, revenue first. But from operations, from business side, from the technical side, the complexity of it was very high. So what actually happened is I had to build it alone, like myself, without touching my team. So I didn't, I would say I still did it, but I didn't touch or disturb the team at all. Still I did. Okay, so the good thing about is team has only problem with team getting disturbed or their focus going. Okay, so we agree on something that yes, if we do this, the revenue will come in. That's a good point. But if we do take it internally as an internal project, it will disturb the existing development, the current product development, all that. So their point was valid. My point was also valid. So the only way out of it is either I have to do it alone with building a small team which can do it, which does not exist in, does not conflict with what we are doing currently. So we look at that way. So that is a clear example. We take the merit of it and see the person who want to do it can deliver it without disturbing the current team. Then we go ahead and do it. Sometimes this also happens with design team. This is mostly happens with design of the robots, right? So they wanted to deploy or implement certain things. Maybe all of three of us will say, no, that is not doable, right? So then we actually go to the board. We write down merit and demerits of it. If it's a long term and if it's actually succeed and it creates much greater value, we go ahead with it. Still, we might not be supporting you, but it is internally agreed that we won't be able to support you because of these reasons. Still, if you want to do it, do it.
So basically, you do a lot of data as well as logic-driven decisions, irrespective of how much biased you are. You just write it down and then you do a SWOT basically and just Okay. So Ribin, talk to me about the initial days of your company. So last time when we hang out, you spoke to me about a contract of 2.5 million that you cracked. After that, of course, that was the first contract that you cracked. And before that, it was all drained up, all struggle time, all hustle up time. So talk to me about the time before this contract, which eventually led you to, self-validation that, okay, fine, I'm doing something worth, in the industry. So talk to me about that time.
The initial days were pure struggle. I still won't believe that if I knew the struggle was at that much, I wouldn't dare to start it. Okay, when the struggle that I'm talking is in all levels, financials, mentally, the pressure from the family, the pressure from the guys who we are working with, and your peer pressure. Because all the guys you worked with is going up, up, up in their job. They are doing foreign trips. They are working on a deployment sites which are foreign. They are getting married. Everything is happening and you are on your table only working, right? So the initial days, I still remember it as the biggest learning that we had, even though it was struggle. The initial days, one thing that I still remember is I had to work one more job so that I can actually pay my guys. We were not funded. We were literally bootstrapped and our salary was 10,000 rupees and we are living in a bank. And we actually shared a same room so that we don't have to pay a lot. And my team actually waits for my salary to get into my account so that we can pay the rent, all that things can be taken. So those days proved two things. These guys are built for lasting relationship and you can trust them or count them on it. So that's the base that how we actually started. And on the go, from 4 people, it became 10. So we've had this initial thought process, when the team grows, right, how do you make sure the same effort that you are putting is valued or actually transferred to your team also? How do you make sure the team actually sustain or stay together for a long time? That is something that is very critical. So when we picked up each individual, it's literally hand picking each teammates. We did a lot of understanding from both side, technical side as well as the character side, and that made sure that team knows what exactly why we are doing this and what we have and what we can offer. The initial days were pure struggle. Like, let me put this way: it is if I wanted to do that again, I would say no, no more.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs do say this, that if I knew how much struggle it is going to be in entrepreneurship, I would never do it in the first place. Just because I was unknown of the effort, I did it, and then I kept on doing, kept on doing like that. Okay, so Ribin, tell me, so when you are in the struggling mode, generally you pick up any damn project, which is even going to pay you like peanuts. So I'm sure this also happened with you, right? So talk to me about that as well. Like how much desperate people used to be, अरे जो मिल रहा है ले लो, and just let's just do it.
Yeah. So one thing that we kept always as the base is we will only do projects if we are taking project which is very, very relevant to our core field or what we are building. For example, if I'm doing that project, it should contribute to the development what I'm doing. If it's not, we'll not touch it, even if it's giving me hundreds of crores. So that very well disciplined. Even first, initially, whenever I get a project, I get excited. I'll tell team, let's do this. But the team is built in such a way that even if I wanted to do that, they'll say, no, Ribin, that's not what we agree. Now, we should stick to what we are doing. We should try to get what we are doing. So that did a lot of filtration. Regu, the business of mine is actually from a IT field, I would say computer field than robotics field. So he used to get a lot of projects. He's like, Ribin, let's do this, let's do this. But when it comes to us, I'll tell, no, Regu, we are not supposed to touch this. If we do this, as I said, we have only very limited resource, right? And very limited time and very limited money also. If I don't utilize it the way that it should be, we run out of easily money. Money is like every month we already run out of money. Next month money I have to figure out. So on top of that, there is a project that you are not expert at, so you can't charge very high. That's very definitely and you have to put the timing more than what it should have taken by an expert. So it becomes another struggle and you go behind. So we have very key focus. If we are doing external projects, definitely that has to be at least 70% year to what we are doing, and it should be able to contribute to what we are developing. So this is what one thing we kept as like base rule.
So also, Ribin, I have also observed that we do when we are in the initial stages, we do raise funds from our friends and family, because not all the time we have like seed money or VC's money. So did you also go through the same process?
Right, definitely yes. But I'm not from a very wealthy family, so I don't have money that I can bring from my home, and I am the first entrepreneur in my entire family. So my family didn't even understood what I'm trying to do. All they understood is this guy was having a good job and he's just stopping all this and doing something that we don't even know. So initial phases were zero support from my family, but Ebin's family was little more understanding in that term. So they actually put in some money. And Regu also helped us in raising a lot of family money. Basically, he already ran a startup, right? So that gave them also confidence on what he's doing. And he's from Bangalore. So that norm of startup is very famous in Bangalore. From the place where I am, they don't know about what is a startup. And I have only history of families did business and spoiled the money or spend all the money there. So from my side, it was clear, no, like, sorry, repeat, we don't know what you're doing. no money,
Mm.
right? So we had to raise, and one thing that we were sure is we'll only take money what is absolutely necessary. That means
Correct.
we will try to make revenue as such. We don't want to burn money unnecessarily, and we have to put that money. So our each penny, I would say, went into development, and not even into salary, because salaries we were able to get from outside as a revenues, and all the money that went is actually into product development, and it was a frugal way of doing things. I won't recommend doing it, because the pressure that you have to handle is very high when you do,
Mm.
and when you don't have enough runway in your bank, you don't know what is next month looks like, and you don't have any idea when you will be able to raise funds from outside, what
Right.
milestone you want to achieve. All that is actually not a recommended way of doing it.
Yes.
But for me, the problem was none of us are from IIT or IIM or had a huge background of 10 plus years experience.
Mm.
So for outside world, we were some youngsters trying to do something. They are telling that they will do it, but no idea whether they will actually pull it off. Right. So we have to prove. So what we call is we have to do a merit-based sale, because we have to show that yes, this is working. This is something that proved, and we can. So wherever we go, we have to prove ourselves. So there is no other factor which help.
So, Ribin, how much did you raise any money?
Right.
Just by-
So totally within the last 3 years, we did 300K. This is
okay.
angels, and last 100 or 150K came in last 6 months only. So on the go, the fundraising became very easy for us. Initial days, nobody used to give us any money. Let me put that very straight. So that first 1 year we raised, I think 20K. That's all we could raise, and we won more than that in competitions and revenues.
Ah,
So the second year we were able to raise 100K. So we are like, okay, TK. That year we did 50 to 60K in revenue. So the next year we did 250K in revenue, but that year we could only raise 100.
acha. So you are doing great revenue, but you're raising less money.
Yeah. So
What's the point? Okay,
that,
fine. So
and that too in startup, especially in robotic startup, and it was difficult. It's really difficult.
yeah, I think people, specifically investors, do want to invest a lot on software startups. At least back then, back then we I mean, like 2, 3, 4 years ago. I don't know the condition right now, but when it comes to hardware startups, they just run away from it. Why hardware startup is hard, and why investors shy away from hardware startups? Can you
Yeah.
put some light on this as well?
Oh, definitely I can put. First of all, even though we looks like a hardware startup, we are no more a hardware startup. So we also couldn't place it in that way. So that was one of the learning that we had over the time. So our key focus is not on hardware at all. So we were actually focused on software. My half of the team is actually software developers. So we are actually a software friend company, but who didn't place it in such way that others will perceive it as a software company. So since, as you said, we are always looked at as a hardware company who's building robots, right? So the reason for that, I also understood, because going through this journey, one mistake in hardware, right? Let it be anything. It's a 6 month time period to recover it or iterate. Software issue, you can change it on there, over there, wherever you are. Okay, so this is actually one of the biggest problem. And since time is money, you make some mistakes, you spend another 3, 4 months figuring it out, and you have to actually spend time along with money, which makes it extra hard. So this is the very fundamental difference. So if you are doing a hardware development, there are a lot of other things which will come into picture, unlike software. And hardware is hard mainly because of the time you have to spend on it to get it right. We
Correct.
actually spent 3 years. So if you look at our software was ready on the second year. Okay, so
Mm.
but the hardware took us more time than the software is able to develop or the time that is required for us to iterate. So we did around the actual number is 9 number of iteration to get the production quality. Now,
Got it.
companies who can do it much faster, but from looking at our perspective, as I said, we were limited in all resources. Like we don't have huge lot of money with us to hire very expertise guys in this. So our team has to learn it and do it, and all the experience that we have to be put in, and all the consultants that we can actually take off. This field is also fairly new. There are not a lot of people who can bring it. So very simple. Hardware iteration time is very high, and you have to purchase all of the components by paying upfront, right? So
Correct.
that is where the hardware startups become, and scalability. That's another very big thing. How do you scale hardware? Because you always have manpower requirement in the back. If you want to scale, it's not exponential growth that you can do with hardware. Yes, definitely e-commerce, B2C at least can do that. Exponentially, they can become success over the night. People will order on online like anything. But ours is B2B. There is nothing called overnight success for us, right? So it has to be built over the time. But when you build over the time, that name sticks. So
Correct.
that's the difference, and that's the reason hardware is hard, as well as people doesn't want to invest in that. It will take time, a lot of time, and you can't pivot very fast. It's difficult to pivot in a hardware startup.
So what I'm understanding is just sheer because of perfecting the hardware takes a lot of effort, lot of time. It's difficult to do a hardware startup. Plus, I think the talent which is required in hardware startup is anyway rare compared to what a software startup is. You'll find a plethora of software engineers if you put just one job post, but compared to hardware, it's very rare. So
Right.
these 2-3 factors in itself makes a sense why hardware is difficult, and plus that also explains why the investment ticket size versus the revenue ticket size is in that ratio, because you
Correct.
need that money to build the hardware. Eventually then you sell it and you get the payments in. All right.
One
Got it.
more perspective I have from that side is, imagine that you have built a very good state of art hardware.
Hmm.
The other guy just have to look at it, figure out, wow, okay, this way, let's do it. So replicating an existing hardware is very easy, but
Hmm.
figuring out yourself and getting into that stage is very hard. And that is also one of the other reasons where this happens actually.
So the key takeaway I am taking from this conversation is, if you're building a hardware, build your own very proprietary software which will support that hardware, because hardware is going to get replicated eventually. The software is not, right?
Yes.
All right. So also tell me that we also last time had a small talk about a setback that you had, which is uh, you took a order of I think worth 1 crore or so, and you put in money from your pockets, and something bad happened. So what was that? When was this? What was the team size? And what was the whole scenario?
So this scenario is when I had a burn rate of around 20 lakh per month. Okay.
Okay.
So we were like in a good stage, let's put that way. 3-4 months of runway for us is like super. So we always used to run it every month runway. So this time we got a good order, right? So we are like fully confident. It is just 5 robots order. And only thing is, clients doesn't pay a lot of advance. Okay.
Correct.
So we have to put in all the money that we had, and all our order cycle is within 3 months. It will take for us to build to order, basically the way we work. And you have to put in the capital upfront. And we built it, even though we were a little hesitant, we built it. So what happened is, client didn't pick the product for next 5 months. We were like, we couldn't do anything. That's where we hit that. How do I survive for next month? Because all my money is locked in that 5 robots, and they are not picking it up. So how much I can force them, right? I'm a vendor, their client, and this went for 5 months. I thought it is death of my company, and that led to a situation where I have to sell all of our demo robots. We used to keep demo robots, inventories, everything. We became an asset-light company within that 5 months. And one thing that I'm still that those days are nightmares. Uh, I am very grateful to my team. Not even single guy, not even a single guy left my company during that period. They all knew that we were not able to pay. We are not able to come out of the situation easily. And it's not a small amount of money. And there is literally no runway in front of us. And after that, we learned our lesson. We pulled some out of it with orders, the sheer determination of not me, my team. I'm not just talking about the 4 guys. I'm talking about the entire 27 people who actually were there, like literally stayed with us, even though we didn't pay straight for 3 months. Can you believe? I can't even think about it. We couldn't pay for straight 3 months, and none of them even left. Yeah, definitely they used to ask me about money. Ribin, when am I gonna get salary? But they never left us. So that is way behind, like beyond that, what I can expect from my team. Right? I never expect anybody to work without salary even for a month. But these guys stayed for 3 months. But that gave us a lot of learning also, right? So after that, we never ever take an order without a 50% advance. Okay. So we learned our lesson. If the customer is not ready to pay 50% upfront, that means he's not serious.
Yeah.
Simple. It's okay. We have other customers whom we can actually get this. So that was one of the biggest lessons that we had. Never ever play with your runway, and you will not get this chance again. Never ever. So that I never repeat in our entire life. And wherever I have come across startups, I always used to say, if customer is not paying upfront advance, especially in our scenario, not in B2C or other scenario, where the equipment cost is very high, if you have to bear all the costs, no, that's not your customer. Maybe he might be MNC, he might be the guy with lot of money, but no, that can act. Nothing will happen to them, right? It's just an order for them. And for us, it's everything. It has the potential to kill our company. Fortunately, we pulled it out, and all the thanks and all the credit goes to my team, not to myself. Because team, especially my sales team, I have a wonderful sales team. When I say a wonderful sales team, one of the key things that I figured out from my initial days, I'm not very good salesman. I need, especially in B2B, I need people who has a lot of connect and who is ready to take risk. I'm talking about 10 plus years guys, right? An experienced salesman in a B2B industry with 10 plus years. I don't think you will get a lot of people. I have a wonderful guy like that. His name is Karan. He literally pulled it off without asking me a second question. And he is one of the reason we actually came out.
I mean, I feel that you're very, very lucky to have a team who stood behind you in times like this, especially going for 3 months straight without salaries. A team of what, like 2022 it was, right?
Yeah, it was in 2022.
Yeah, and what was the size of the team?
27 people.
27 people. So 27 people for 3 months straight, not having any payment and not leaving is a very, very, very big deal, especially in today's terms. And I'm sure that with that support, I'm sure you had a very strong friends and family support as well to, walk you through this difficult time, right?
Definitely yes, because most of these guys were married, right? They have to support their family. And definitely yes, their wife is working, my wife is working, and that they actually supported us like anything. And they imagine a situation, 3 months a company is not paying, the first pressure you start getting from home, telling that why are you working for them? Go and find a job. First of all, you're not paying a market standard salary, right?
Yeah.
And second, on top of that, man, you're not even getting paid for 3 months. So family support is the first thing that you need when you start a company. Without that, you won't be able to peacefully run it. Otherwise, you have to be very successful. Like you have to have funds raised before even starting the company, and your artware should be like very smooth. Yeah, pressure, your problems will be there, but finance plays a big role in family as well as in company. If you have that sorted, yes, you can take a lot of risk. But if that is not sorted, then it's a roller coaster ride, literally without no breaks.
Correct. Amazing. It is. I think it's a very inspiring journey, not just your journey, but the whole people who supported you in that journey. It really speaks about the roller coaster that they went through as well. Tell me a bit about raising investments. We already talked that you don't belong to a very fancy college, or you don't belong to some IIT, IIMs or so. Still, you are able to raise investments. Generally, when you have a tag of something, a good brand, a good college, then you get a validation which helps you raise a fund. Thoda sa easy. But having said that, how do you raise your first round of investment? Is there any formula wherein did you enroll into any accelerators or incubators? Is there any formula for the hardware and software oriented startups to go through? How was it? What was it?
So let me put uh, the first one is, if you get into accelerator, Y Combinator is one of the best accelerator.
Hmm.
They help us you raise funds. They help you even find a co-founder itself. Then there is a lot of other accelerator programs run in India right now. Now the support system is much better. If you are in an accelerator program, the chances that you will be able to raise fund is very high. Okay.
Correct.
As you said, if you are from an Ivy League, definitely yes. If your ID is good, people have uh, more trust in you, because if you have to get into an Ivy League, you go through a very good filtration, right? So that's where this entire selection process is happened. So we guys didn't go through it. So we have to prove that, hey, I also can deliver this. I also have a dream which I want to build a company. So now the problem is, how do they trust you, right? It's when you want to raise a fund. So your problem statement has to be well defined. You should be very clear what to be done. But from an engineer turning into an entrepreneur, there is a lot of difficulties doing that. So these accelerated programs are one of the best way to get it. But don't go to a lot of accelerated programs. One or two is more than good enough. And for our case, fundraise become much more easy when our product is launched in market, and people started to use it, and when customers started coming. So for us, we had to prove it. And I'm not talking about an MVP or a prototype. I'm actually talking about a product launch. I had to do a proper
Final
product launch the market, and it has to be vetted by the clients itself. Only then I was able to um, easily raise a fund, or the fundraising become easy for. So our investment journey is different when compared to most of other companies, how they go through. So our investment journey, as I said, we have to literally prove and do a product launch. Customers has to use it, and only then we started attracting capital. Before that, it was very difficult for us to attract capital, mainly because, as I said, we are not from any Ivy League. Neither we don't have a lot of tags we are attached to our names. So all this filtration didn't happen for us. The only way we can stand out is actually by doing what we are actually telling. And once that is done, for us, the capital started coming in. When I say start, what we have done is we developed the product, not just MVP. We went from prototype to MVP to product launch, customer utilizing it, winning a contract for 2.5 million. So that's where we uh, got the traction, as well as the investors also started showing interest. Right now, it's
product.
not anymore a story that I'm telling. There is a proof that, okay, these guys will do it, right? So, but always, one thing that I will always keep in mind if I am also doing a next startup or company, you have to do your research before you developing your product. Okay, and this research has to come from a customer point of view. The reason is the first product I didn't do much of research. Very honestly, doing putting a friend. I was working with similar technology, so I'm like, this is being utilized everywhere. Let's just develop it, right? And my reason was an engineer reason. Nobody in India is doing product development. They are not putting as a global state. So let's do it. So what happens is like that become a push to the customer. Yes, customer has a requirement, but my product might be the exact fit for it. but I already developed the product, right? So now I have to actually push the customer to buy some of the product,
Correct.
not everything, and some of the customers. And then, is your product really something that you can sell in India? Is the next question. Okay, so my perspective, our team's perspective, everything is world class. Okay, so now the question is, can Indian accommodate a world class product? How many, like if you look at the sales happening in India in car segment, Maruti sells most, right?
Correct.
Right. So there is a reason for it. There is a business analogy for it because India can't afford very expensive items. So this happens to your B2B customers also. So said that the first product when we did it, we couldn't do this research because of our inability to do it, or our eyes were not opened enough to understand all this concept of doing business. But running for 3 years, we realized, right? So 1,000 days is what we normally say. If you do something for 1,000 days, definitely you'll figure out how to do it. So
Correct.
we also figured out that before doing a development of a product, you talk to your customer, see whether he really needs it. He might not looking at the exact product as a solution, but he will have the core problem. Right?
Correct.
So the new products that we are launching in Feb or March is already sales are there. Like customers are like, the moment you launch it, bring it. Nothing else is there. So I didn't have to do any push here. So no
Correct.
demo was asked, no pilot asked. He's like, I'll buy it directly. So, but there is also one more thing. They already knew that answer is doing robots, and these robots are working in a lot of other fields. And now they already have that confidence that whatever these guys bring will work, right? So there is no
Correct.
question of that. So this is very important. And once you do that part, investor also will do their own due diligence, right? So the due diligence goes like, is it scalable? Is it globally scalable? And is it something that actually can be pulled off by these guys? Okay. So all this is their thought process. And once they are okay with it, they also take certain risks. Definitely, yes, it's a huge risk they are taking. But the confidence that you give to them is your selling point, nothing else. So this can be either backed by data or your history.
Correct.
Here, I didn't have a history. We didn't have a good data to show it because I did do my market research back then. But now both are there. We have a history of 3 years plus running business, putting robots on the field. So when we talk about new product launch and all, people start taking us seriously. We are attracting capital much more easier than what we used.
So basically, to gain the trust and confidence of either the investor or the market or whoever entity who is going to give you the money, you will have to prove it time over time, and also reach to a point wherein your product market fit is achieved. So that would be a conclusion, right? So, Ribin, tell me, what would be your takeaway for people who are trying to build careers in this field of yours, which is robotics? How the future looks like with the with the incorporation of machine learning and AI and all these new tech which is getting readily available. How does the future looks like? Where should the people who are trying to build their careers in this space should go? What would be the step by step approach for them?
So if you're asking about robotics, I would say have your basics of programming well defined. Okay, so if you don't know how to write a C++ or a Python code at least, forget about getting into robotics, right? Especially the software side of it. And unfortunately, we still take a lot of interviews. For us, we refer to other companies, everything. The expectation that freshers coming with, and I'm talking about expectation, the salary expectation. I'm putting it forward. And the knowledge they have is nowhere matching. Okay. So everybody want to start a package of 15 to 18 starting. But for the next 2 years, these guys has to be trained by us. Okay. Only then they'll be able to contribute to a startup or to a company. Definitely, Pro Infosys, all those guys can keep hiring and training them. But for a startup or at least mid-sized companies can't afford that. So
Correct.
what I would recommend if anybody is looking to get into this, you should join a startup. Definitely yes, mainly because there you will be actually doing development activities.
Correct.
So we don't have a lot of people to tell you what to do. You actually have to do it, right? So
Correct.
you learn from the experience of doing it. So join a startup, do internship. So while and do internship at least 6 months. Okay, minimum 6 months. Don't think 1 or 2 months. I don't even encourage doing any startup which is less than 3 months. And we always want to pay them for the internship there. Okay. The
Correct.
reason is for the first 3 months they will learn. For the next 3 months they will be able to contribute. So that's the
Correct.
starting argument. So minimum 6 months is what we say, since it is robotic. It involves mechanical understanding, electronics understanding, electrical understanding, computer science understanding. Lot of sensors are involved in this. So you have to learn a lot, definitely yes. And your syllabus is not going to cover all this. We also know that. But at least learn some programming if you want to be in a software development, and C++, Python is good enough. Then you do an internship. And if you already done good enough project in your school days or college days, your project is actually on robotics, or if your master's is actually worked on robotics, then definitely yes, apply for direct job. But I don't know a lot of training companies which is training at robotics. I don't know a lot of them. But nowadays even ROS is something that everybody learns. It's called Robot Operating System, which is available in an academy, Udemy, and even in the open source it is available. So learning is not a problem. So if you want to get into this career, first understand which side of it. As any organization, we also have mechanical, we have how to design mechanical stuff, and at least yes, programming we have. You're a good programmer, you can come into that side. Control system is one of the important part of it. PLC programming, motor tuning, motor controlling, all that is always there. Some companies even still develop embedded systems also. So that is also a part of it. So this is actually a huge field. But to get an understanding, when if you're in college, go and do internship, figure out which is your most interesting subject or field. Then try to become a master by learning yourself. Most of the things are available online. You can actually learn by doing that. And then join companies. It's actually much easier to get this job because this talent is very niche still in India, especially robotics engineering.
Got it. And what would be your message to your customers? First of all, who are your customers? A category or categories of customers, and what would be your message to the customers so as to how do they, why should they get in touch with you, as well as how do they do their filtering process before hiring any robotic company for their usage?
So this depends upon what is the philosophy of the customer also. So that right now all our customers are, we call premium customers. So the reason I call them premium is they are either MNCs who set up operation in India. For example, Schneider, Molex, Trelleborg. These are very big companies who has operation based out of India, having manufacturing facility. So their first priority is safety. Okay, all the equipment should be the world class best in safety. So if that is the criteria, we are like, go to the guys. Okay, and definitely yes, our robot has to work. That is bare minimum. Now, but there are customers like Bajaj, Tata, TVS. So for them, safety is factor, but price is more important, right?
Correct.
So as I said, our first product is not a less cost price. It's actually highly priced product, which is compared with we compare it with world class product. Okay. So what we went is actually we only went with tier 1 or the top tier guys can afford this and who looks into the safety aspects of it. So that's where the filtration happened. Now the new products comes in is actually made for India. So these products comes with safety requirement as well as the cost effectiveness of India. Both is actually given into one product. And one more thing is we follow like a Volvo kind of a theory in terms of product. It should work for 10, 20 years without any issues, right? Yes, definitely will be maintenance that is required, but it is built for lasting long. So if the customer's main priority is not the cost, but the lasting of the product and the safety perspective, we are the one of the best guys to come for solutions.
Got it. And what would be your message to investors who are willing to invest in your company? What would be the value proposition that they would be getting by investing in your company?
So for the investors, right now, we just built one product of the entire solution that we want to build it. So we want to automate the entire inbound, outbound process of a factory. So once we built it, it is actually one of the only company who has control of all the entire solution. So we will be actually more focused on software side of it, not on the hardware. Any robot can work in our software. We will be orchestrating entire outflowing flow. So we just starting, right? We are at the starting point of it. So if you guys are helping us to get it bigger, make it bigger, definitely yes, everybody gonna grow together. So that's the only thing that I can actually put up.
All right. I think, Ribin, quite a long talk we had, and you took us through right from the start to how you built the company, to what was the foundations, which is your co-founding team and the team, everything around that, the support, to your failures, to how you raised investment, how you got good $1 million orders, and now the future vision that you have for the company. So, and of course, I'm sure, was it your first podcast?
Oh yes, I normally doesn't get to do any of these things. Honestly,
Okay. How was your
my
experience?
first. It's just sharing my experience. So it felt like normally how we talk in our office. So whenever we get a chance to interact with anybody who comes to our office.
Amazing. All right, Ribin, I think thank you so much for your time, as well as the way you have given all the viewers the insights of how do you run a company, and what are the things that you come across while going through the whole journey of how many years has been now, Ribin?
It's our fourth year. We are going to fourth year.
Fourth year it is, right? All right. So, Ribin, thank you so much for your time and for the insights that you have given. And let's catch up again whenever you are coming back to Mumbai.
Definitely yes.
All right, Ribin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.